Hi, I'm John Stewart Gordon, the Benjamin Atmore Hewitt Assistant Curator of American Decorative Arts at the Yale University Art Gallery, and welcome to the Furniture Study. The Furniture Study is one of the Art Gallery's 3 study centers. There is a study center for prints and drawings, coins and medals, and one for American furniture. The Furniture Study houses over 1,100 objects made in America or for the American market, ranging in date from 1650 to the present. The bulk of the Furniture Studies collection is part of the Mabel Brady Garvan Collection here at the Art Gallery. The collection was given to the university in 1930 and included over 10,000 objects, including silver, ceramics, glass, textiles, and of course, furniture. In the 1950s, the university decided to bring all the furniture together so they could study it. And in 1959, the Furniture Study opened to the public. We're available for tours, classes are taught here, and it's just a great place to explore. So join me as we look at a few of my favorite objects here in the Furniture Study. So the Furniture Study is organized by form. Every aisle has a different form. And as you can see, we're in the aisle that has desks, chests, and tables. Yale's collection is known for its early Connecticut material. And this chest was probably made around Guilford, Connecticut, somewhere in the second half of the 17th century. The cabinet maker that made this probably trained in England. And we know that because the decoration on the front relates to the kinds of chests that were made in the West Country, in the Gloucestershire area. And the panels on the top are really unusual for American furniture of this period, but you see them a lot in England. So it kind of talks to the connection between England and the colonies in the early period. So the Furniture Study contains a range of material from kind of everyday objects, things with condition problems, up to masterpieces. And this is one of the masterpieces of Yale's collection. It's a high chest. It was made in Rhode Island in the 18th century. The high chest is one of these furniture forms that some feel is kind of the quintessential American form. It was in fashion in England for a very short period of time, but it stayed in fashion in the colonies all through the 18th century. Like cars today, you could order a piece of furniture with all sorts of extras, and whoever ordered this piece of furniture opted for almost all of the extras. There are fluted corner columns on the case, there are these fancy finials at the top, there's a shell carved into the skirt, and those amazing legs that have eagle talons grasping a ball. And if you look closely at the talons, you'll see that there's air cut underneath. Very delicate, sophisticated carving. This arrived at the Art Gallery in the 1980s, and we knew it was out there, but it had been forgotten to art history for a number of generations. And we had a very exciting moment of discovery when the then curators were taking it apart and examining it. The majority of the furniture made in the colonial period is anonymous. We don't know who made it. This is an exception. And in the 80s, the curators pulled out one of the drawers and noticed some graphite writing on it. I don't know if you can see all of that scribbling on the bottom of the drawer. It says, "Made by John Townsend, Newport, 1759. So it very quickly went from being an anonymous piece of furniture to one by a known maker, John Townsend, and it turned out to be a very early piece of furniture in his career. The Townsend family was one of the leading families of cabinet making in Newport. And they were known for this really beautiful carving and for these very austere, elegant designs. So here we are in the clock aisle, which has a range of clocks from the early 18th all the way through the 19th century. We've stopped at a clock that was made just after the American Revolution in Yorktown, Pennsylvania. It's one of my favorite clocks in the collection. And it's because there's so much going on the dial. Can you see all these different things that are happening? It's not just for telling time. You'll see that there are too many hands. There's an hour hand, a minute hand, a hand that points to the day of the month, one that points to the month. There's a ring that shows the astrological sign that dominates that month, planetary insignia, and in the middle there is a starry sky with a moon. And as the moon travels through the starry sky, a disk covers it, and it tells you what phase the moon is in. And at the very center, there's a view of the world from above the North Pole, with lines telling you when the sun will rise and set. I like to think this is the iPhone of the 18th century. It is so much more than a clock. It tells you everything you need to know about the natural world. And it's a great example of this Enlightenment idea that was sweeping over Europe and the Americas through the 18th century. The idea that you could take the whole world and monitor it, and know it, and record it. So you could look at this and know the time, day, month, astrological sign, the phase of the moon, and when the sun will rise and set. It was made by a man named John Fisher, and he was known for his very complicated clockworks. And this is one of the most complicated clocks that was made in the new nation. In the 1970s, the former curator of the American Collection, Charles Montgomery, decided that the collection should go all the way up to the present day. So we started collecting material from the 19th, 20th, and now 21st centuries. And this is one of our great 20th century objects. It's a desk. And as you can see from its gold, gleaming color palette, it's quite a jazzy object. And in my mind, it really encapsulates the jazz age in America. It was made in 1927 for a house in Palm Beach, Florida. The house was owned by Marjorie Merriweather Post, the heiress of the Post Toasties fortune. And she had this grand house that she wanted to redecorate. And she hired Joseph Urban to redecorate it. The house was so large, he couldn't do it himself, so he called on some of his friends. And he gave the guest rooms to his friend Paul Frankel. Frankel was born in Austria, trained as an architect, and moved to the United States in the 1920s. He was fascinated with Asian art and with Frank Lloyd Wright, and I think you can see both of those influences in this desk. Think about Frank Lloyd Wright's prairie school houses, these long, elongated lines with large overhanging eaves, and you can see that in how the bookshelves overhang on the desk. And then his indebtedness to Asian art comes through with this gold and black color palette, which relates to Japanese screens and Chinese paintings. Frankel also imported avant-garde silks into New York and sold them in his shop. And the seat cover and the blotter were made by Paul Rodier, a French textile designer. So this would have been up-to-the-minute fashionable furniture. It looks gold to us now. It's actually aluminum leaf. And aluminum was a very popular material just coming into its own in the 1920s. It was then lacquered to give it this gold sheen. This is like a Busby Berkeley does furniture to me. It's the exuberance and joy of the 1920s and 30s kind of distilled down into one object. It was part of a suite of furniture. So you have to imagine this, the chairs, the bedside tables, everything in this room would have been gleaming gold and black and coral.